Okay, thanks folks for joining us. This is Learning Spotlight, and I'm here with Michael Walsh-Anderson. And Michael's a senior specialist at Logistics Health Division of OptumServe. He works alongside me in a different department. He's going to talk to us today a little bit about what he does. This is about learning and development and instructional design. So Mike is a process analyst and currently working on developing new and better ways for new hire training experiences. And Mike, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, first of all, thanks a lot for joining me. And for the audience who's listening, can you kind of tell us what kind of work you do and, describe it in a little bit of detail?
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, thanks for inviting me. I do appreciate the opportunity. So basically, I manage all the training documentation and work instructions that my department uses for all the new hires. We've got a couple different sections, customer side, staffing side, and I mainly concentrate on the customer side. I also am focused on creating new hire simulations.
Mhm.
So instead of just your standard e-learning modules, where it's death by PowerPoint or just all multiple choice, I'm building courses that have a lot of interaction. They're more focused on being as close to the real thing as possible and
Mhm.
really engaging the new hire and getting them involved.
Yeah, that's really important with a company. I'm glad you're doing all this great work with the department you're working in right now. So, what kind of products have you worked with in the past? How's that helped you to kind of do your job today?
So in the past, I've mainly worked with Camtasia and Snagit. At my previous role, I created some training videos using Camtasia and Snagit, and I thought those were pretty fantastic at the time until I discovered, Articulate and Storyline, and then I realized the power of having, the proper tool kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
um, but that is really what kind of got me started was Camtasia and Snagit. That's what gave me a lot of the experience for creating training um, videos. I used Miro.com
Hmm.
and also Microsoft Visio a lot for flow charts and things like that.
Right. Do you build storyboards or anything like that in Visio?
Mainly flowcharts and mind maps.
Yeah.
Storyboarding is a lot of you got to be a certain kind of person, I think. Some instructional designers swear by it. Some of them use they create as their storyboarding type deals. So instead of just writing out a storyboard, they'll actually draw out using Articulate. They'll make a foundational outline with just placeholders. So that way, if it is approved, they're not having to go back and do it again. They can just swap out those placeholders, and that's kind of the method that I prefer. So you're not
Yeah.
doubling the work.
Yeah, that's great. Creating templates and models, that's really important to make your work efficient like that. So can you tell me, like, as you've been working in this field and you gain more experience, what's a one or two things you really love about instructional design or building e-learnings or just learning management in general?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is I really like the opportunity to freely create and with really very little constraint.
Hmm.
Leadership comes to me and says, we need a simulation on whatever task or process, and then I'm free to create it however I see fit and move from there.
Hmm.
And I'm definitely the type of person that I like to create things and make things, and
Hmm.
build the functionality, the interactions and stuff. So I really enjoy that part. And then just staying abreast of like all the new things coming out and really getting involved in the learning and development community makes a
Hmm.
huge difference. There's no point in reinventing the wheel, so you can freely share, any and all of your content, and other people are able to use those as templates, which has saved me a vast amount of time creating
Hmm.
some of my stuff. And it's just the community all across the world is extremely open and inviting and very helpful. So it's a nice community to be a
Yeah.
part of.
And I think Articulate really has a great suite of products. Storyline is one of them. Presenter, a bunch of other ones too that are part of that Articulate suite. I think Engage used to be. Captivate, I think, was another product that they have too, which all have kind of the same type of purpose, but a little bit different flavor for things
Mhm.
that you want to do. And it's building all off of the Camtasia platform too, where you're doing screen shares or videos or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's really a great thing to be able to have different elements put into your e-learnings, like screenshots, images, videos, animations, triggers, all that kind of good stuff that goes into a really interactive learning, right? Interactive
Yeah,
learning
exactly.
experience for the best possible experience for your new hires, as you put it before, but also training existing employees and getting them more developed
Mhm.
in their learning. So that's great. So I did see something too that you, in the Articulate developing community, you have the e-learning heroes community is what the website is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's community.articulate.com, I believe it is.
Hmm. That's great.
Eh, Yeah, they've got almost endless amount of resources. They call it the e-learning heroes community, and then there's essentially community contributors that are e-learning heroes,
Hmm.
with special tags and stuff. But there's all types of user guides, step-by-step processes, white papers, articles, forum discussions, helpful
Hmm.
documentation, and then there's also e-learning challenges. So, for example, you know, one of the challenges could be revamp your old quiz slides to make them gamified or fully interactive, and people enter into the challenge and they submit their source files, and published output, and it's really neat to see how different people think and how different people work and what they can produce, and it's also helpful to give me as myself ideas, so that's
Hmm.
really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's all a process of building your knowledge. You have to start with the interest first, and then you gain some experience. And it sounds like you're in full force with your projects, and that's awesome. So I really think that's great that your management is allowing you a lot of latitude, with
Hmm.
creative control and making sure that you get what you need to make sure you get your work done. It's on your project sounds really exciting, and there's a lot of, without going into a lot of detail about what we do at the company, it's allowing people to be trained on their jobs to a very high degree, so that they're competent, and you put all sorts of learning elements in there, which is
Hmm.
great. Not just interactive elements to show them how to do these particular procedures, but also putting in learning supports and testing and quizzes and stuff too, to kind of help retain their information, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I wanted to make sure I included is not just the how to do the process, but the why behind every step.
Hmm.
Because the understanding of the why and the foundation of what we do and why we do it is the key to, like, one of the big keys to knowledge retention and understanding the process as a whole is knowing why we do things instead of just memorizing the motion. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, great point. So how about maybe share with us a couple of helpful hints that maybe you've learned along the way? Anything in particular that has struck a chord or is kind of sticks in your mind as something you learned that maybe you could share with the e-learning and instructional design community?
yeah, definitely first and foremost, being involved with e-learning and ID communities and learning from other folks' mistakes when they post it
Hmm.
on the forums or articles. That's been an astronomical help. I've avoided some really big pitfalls just based upon reading through articles and doing research and having that thirst for knowledge.
Yeah.
Always wanting to learn and do research is a huge, huge thing.
Hmm.
Um, I had just started learning Articulate about, I want to say, a month and a half ago, and essentially my first few weeks was all learning, all studying, and it's not just the user guides you have to study. It's, like I said, the articles and the forums to
Hmm.
understand how things interact and what the limitations of the different aspects of the program are. But
That's
definitely, I
awesome.
would say read and learn and
Yeah.
get involved, just like the big three.
Right. And it's really great that you can, when you read articles or support tips or something, or a case study that maybe somebody's run across and is trying to help out the rest of the community before they make most kinds of mistakes. That's really helpful. But sometimes the most memorable experiences are the ones we make mistakes on ourselves. We just hope they're not too serious and we don't
Yes.
like shut down sites or anything like that.
Yes.
Because I've crashed a few things in my day over the years, and I never want to do that again. But sometimes the toughest lessons in life are the best ones to remember. They're just
Yes.
not very pleasant at the time when it happens.
No. It's
But they,
it's funny you mentioned that because I created backups for all of my zip files and output packages, but for some reason I overlooked the backups for the source files for my projects. And yesterday I was doing some desktop cleaning and I deleted my source files.
I know.
And so it took IT help and a couple hours worth of work to get them all back. So
Well, good.
won't do that again.
Yeah, and
So
it's great that they could step in and help you. But yeah, you do, at the same time, you probably feel bad, because you like had to use their time to get their your stuff
exactly,
back. But
yes.
it's a good learning lesson that I'm sure all of us at one time have come across,
Hmm.
and as we get stronger as professionals. So that's great. So let's kind of move on here with the last question, I think and these are just kind of very loosely based questions. One thing that I was going to ask was, do you have any good examples of any good examples of websites? You did mention community.articulate.com and Miro. What is Miro
Hmm.
exactly?
So Miro is probably the most awesome thing I've ever found by chance. Basically, it is a very simplified, easy to use, free online version of Visio. They've got Kanban templates, mind maps, flowcharts, storyboarding, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of templates. And you can sign up for free. You can collaborate live, real time with anybody you invite to your team or your board, as they call it. And it's just a phenomenal tool that I've used, both in my previous position and in my current. I'm working right now on a really large scale, multiple branch scenario simulation, that has many, many, many steps. And I'm utilizing Miro to be able to keep track of everything and easily get it down without having to, fight the system. So
Mhm.
it's a very, very awesome tool, and I'm lucky that I was able to stumble upon it. So it was really
Great.
awesome.
So yeah, thanks a lot for all the great tips. It's been great talking to you, Mike. Any last
Been a
words
pleasure.
before I sign off here?
Yeah, definitely learn by doing. Don't all I focused a lot on the reading and the articles, but get in there and just start messing around with the tools. That's a good portion of how I learned is I read all the articles and the user manuals, but you definitely want to get in there and start messing around and breaking stuff and make a sandbox, and that's how you learn by doing, to support the documentation. So
Great.
definitely learn by doing.
Thanks a lot, Mike. This has been Learning Spotlight for Leapfrogging Success, and this has been Michael Walsh-Anderson, and I'm Nick Lecter. All right, thanks, guys.